Good morning and happy Easter. I'm glad to be back with you all, and we're very excited again to be online. Once again, you may be wondering why I'm sitting like this. This is a little atypical for a speaker. We just concluded 45 minutes of great yoga, yes?
Yes.
Yes. We are at Sangha Yoga Church in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm Will Bowen. I'm a #1 international best-selling author, and I am also an ordained minister. And today is Easter, and we're going to be talking about Easter. And I want to acknowledge once again all of the people who are watching online. Everybody say hi. Hi. We hope you'll come join us on Sunday. And it's so great, the numbers of you that are joining us now. Last week, I noticed we had over 5,300 views of my talk, and we are getting hundreds of shares on some of these, and it's just really great, and we acknowledge it. We thank you. Also, I want to acknowledge, because we are a nonprofit, a 501c3, some of our largest donors are our online community. So thank you so much for the checks that you're sending in. I just want to acknowledge that and say bless you and thank you so much. So we're going to talk about Easter. And I want to start with a bit of a historic perspective about Easter, because we tend to know the Easter story, don't we? Right? Yeah. Yes? One of my favorite little stories is about a priest who's talking to a young boy, and he wants to see if he knows the story of Easter. And he doesn't think he does, because this is a little boy that doesn't pay very good attention in Bible class. So the priest asked the little boy, "What's the story of Easter?" And he said, "Well, as I recall, Easter is about when Jesus gets crucified at about 3:30 on Good Friday. And then they take his body and they place it in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea." And the priest is just amazed. And he said, "Yes." And the little boy said, "So they place his body in the tomb and he's there for 3 days. And at the end of the 3 days, these ladies go to see him. And when they get there, they find that the stone has been rolled back from the grave." And the priest said, "Yes, and?" And the little boy said, "And if Jesus comes out and sees his shadow, that means we have 6 more weeks of winter." I had you going up till that point, didn't I? I loved that joke. Anyway, Easter is actually the oldest celebration of Jesus Christ. In ancient times, they didn't celebrate someone's birthday as we do. You celebrated the day of their transition or the day of their death. The date of Easter was actually set at the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, Common Era, what we call AD. And the reason for that was also the time when the New Testament was put together and what's called canonized. What canonized means is that of hundreds of books that were put forth to be considered to be part of what is now the New Testament, the books that ended up were selected. They were literally voted upon, and at that point they decided that these books go in and that these books are out, and they set the date for Easter. The interesting thing I find about Easter is that in a lot of countries, and specifically in Latin and in Greek, Easter is called Pesach. And that has more to do with the lineage of the Hebrew Passover, because as we know, Jesus died at the end of Passover. Okay? The word Easter actually comes from the Old English Ustra. Ustra was a goddess of spring. Don't you find that interesting? That we've taken the concept of Jesus Christ, the male, the one and only begotten Son, and we've wrapped it up in a goddess name, and we didn't even know it. I just think it's so cool. We're actually a lot more balanced, don't you think, than we thought? To me, the thing about Easter, and what I love about Easter and the idea of Easter, is that it's a time of transformation. And as I was driving in this morning, well, I told you that we drove back from Purdue University last night, where I've been serving as the executive in residence. And so Marty and I just absolutely wanted to get back so we could be with you all today. So we drove straight on through, got here at 10:30 last night, got unpacked. Here we are. And I got up this morning and it was snowing like crazy, right? And inside I'm like, why did I bother? Because we weren't going to be here. But then I looked outside, and it was almost like the harder the snow came down, the greener everything looked by contrast. Did you notice that? Because in the last few weeks, the land around us is beginning to transform. It's beginning to change. It's beginning to take on a different look. And that last little bit of snow that came down really drew attention to that. And so, what I love about Easter is that it's a story of transformation. When you look at Jesus' transformation, or the Jesus coming back to life, being resurrected in the Bible, again, historically, I find this very interesting. The earliest book of the Bible, which was the Gospel of Mark, which was written about 30 to 40 years after Jesus' death, did not include Jesus coming back and talking to everyone. In the earliest book of the Bible, Mark, and from Mark, we get Matthew, and we also get major portions of Luke. So that is the source material for the other two of the other three. In that, it ends with Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, going to the tomb. The stone has been rolled back, and there's a young boy. It doesn't say angel, it says there's a young boy who says that Jesus, who is here, is now alive and has gone forth to be with the people. And it ends almost like a mystery. You know, it's like the end, you're waiting for the sequel, right? Because the original ending was Jesus just left the tomb, and that was it. And now, of course, what has happened is scholars have figured out that additional stories were added on, and Jesus was seen, and Jesus did these things. And the Gospels all disagree a little bit on who showed up at the tomb. They also disagree on what happens after Jesus leaves the tomb. But what's interesting is no one recognizes him. You know that, right? No one recognizes him. Jesus is crucified. He's in the tomb for 3 days. He comes back, and he is so changed. He is so transformed. No one recognizes him. We think about this concept of transformation as if it's always a higher going. You know what I mean? As if we're always evolving up. But can't we transform a little down sometimes? Don't we transform down sometimes? Most of you all know I was the real fat kid all through school, and when I turned 19, I lost 100 pounds. I got down to 183 pounds. And then as I got closer to 40, I found a whole bunch of it back. Over half of it. I got up to 257 pounds again. I transformed, but I transformed back. The universal symbol for transformation is a butterfly. Because a butterfly starts off as just a little worm. Nothing really impressive. Not that it's a bad worm. It's kind of cute. But it's just a worm. But we really wouldn't put that as a symbol of transformation, right? It's the fact that it starts as a worm. It doesn't start as a beautiful bird and then turn into a butterfly. It starts as something very nondescript, something seemingly unimportant, like a carpenter's son from Galilee, or a person from Joplin, Missouri, or Leawood, Kansas, or Oklahoma City. just starts as something small and then transforms. I looked up the word transformation. It has two definitions. Transformation means a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance. I'll say that again. A thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance, and also a metamorphosis during the life cycle of an animal. So it's a thorough, dramatic change in form and appearance. Now, nature is going to put you through some thorough and dramatic changes of appearance. Can I get an amen? You know, I wasn't like this in high school, okay? I actually had lots of hair. But you're going to transform. Transform means change form. You're going to change form along the way. The question is, are you changing form in the direction you want to go, or are you sitting back and just accepting the transformation that comes your way? Let me tell you the story of two of my friends from high school. One's a man, one's a woman. The man is extremely talented in his line of work. He is considered a worldwide authority at what he does. His work is absolutely incredible. And yet when you ask him where he wants to be in the next 5 years, he's a shrugger. Dude, what do you want to do? Where you see yourself? The other friend of mine is a woman named Catherine Frankstone. She was one of my best friends in high school. We did lots of plays together. She always produced them, and I was in the show. Big surprise. Catherine set her intention on being a great mother when she got married, and she did. She raised wonderful boys who are now out in college, off on their own. And she found herself a little bit bored, and this is a true story. She discovered her aunt's cookie recipes. And so she just started baking cookies. And people were like, dang, these things are good. Molasses ginger cookies, and oh man, just wonderful cookies. And the thing was, it was one of those stories where she started baking them for friends, and then friends wanted them to be catered for parties and things like that, and people are like, I want to buy these cookies. And it started to kind of take off, and then Catherine had a moment of figuring out, am I going to be a person who's just going to bake in my kitchen? Am I going to try and start a business like this? Or what do I want to do with this? And so she stopped baking cookies. She quit. For 9 months. You know why? She studied the cookie business. She went to every cookie trade show she could think of. She read every book on cookie marketing. She read everything on packaging, facilities, warehousing, distribution, everything she could. She is now the president of Gray Ghost Cookies, made in the low country of South Carolina because of the gray ghost that haunts the low country of South Carolina. The cookies can be found in almost every Whole Foods in the country, almost every Nordstrom in the country, and it's just continuing to grow. You know why? She's not a shrugger. Jesus' time during Holy Week is called his Passion. Passion has to do with burning inside. That's what passion means. You have a passion. So often I talk about this at the new year and don't think to remind you 10, 15, 20 times a year about this. You have a passion. You have a reason for being here. That as you discover that, you transform automatically. It pulls you forward. It is that complete transformation. So what's wrong with being a shrugger? Shruggers aren't happy. Kierkegaard said that the self is only the self to that degree that it is becoming another self. We are designed to grow. We are designed to move forward. I'm reaching an interesting point in my life where friends of mine are starting to look really old and retire and are starting to say, well, I've worked for 25 years, now I'm done. And I'm looking at, I've got 25 years of experience, I can't wait for the next 50. It's better to burn out than fade away. And there's something burning inside of you, just like there was something burning inside of Jesus Christ and burning inside of every great man or woman that's wanting to transform you. Are people going to recognize you in 10 years? Or are they just going to say, well, there's an older, slightly heavier version of that person? Or are they going to say, wow, wow. And I don't just mean physically. I mean, are they going to recognize you emotionally? If you were the person who was always losing your mind when something happened, are you now the person that goes, it's all cool? That's a transformation. That's a transformation. If you're a person that's always kind of thinking and worrying and everything, in 5 to 10 years, are you going to be a smiling, contented person? Or are you going to shrug and see what the hell the universe brings and just be whatever, everything comes your way? You get to decide. You get to put yourself in the tomb. Jesus went into the tomb. He didn't just go into the tomb and pop out. Ta-da! Totally different. There was a time of transformation. And all time is a time of transformation. Just like a caterpillar doesn't go and start flying as a butterfly. It goes into a cocoon. So consider the next few years your cocoon and know where you're going. Gertrude Stein, the great writer, has been quoted so many times because she said, when you get there, there is no there. Right? In fact, I heard of a band called No There, playing off of that. When you get there, there is no there. In other words, you think you're done when you get there, but you're not. And what Stein did not say is, don't have a there. She says, have a there, but when you get there, have another there. The people who, look at former President Jimmy Carter. Look at his energy at his age with cancer. He is still going out and building homes for Habitat for Humanity. The Carter Center has brokered more peace deals, and it has made sure that more free democratic elections have been held in this world than anyone else. Why? Because he has a reason. He has something pulling him. If you find what's pulling you, it'll transform you. And you get to decide who you'll be in 5 years. So we're going to close with a prayer of visualization. So right where you are, just close your eyes. You don't need to join hands, anything like that. And online, stay with me as well. Today is Easter, 2021. See and feel yourself in that now moment. How do you look? In your ideal mind, how do you look? How do you feel physically? What is your dominant emotional state? And remember, you get to choose. What are your relationships like? What's your financial situation? You get to choose. How spiritually connected do you feel? How are you living your passion? Infinite loving Spirit, we do not ask for these things. We acknowledge them as options for our lives. As we hold them as a vision for us, knowing that transformation is our natural state, the metamorphosis of an animal, the definition says. We choose now to hold a vision of our lives, to never shrug, and to move higher and higher, happier and happier, more and more loving. For this is the great teaching of Jesus Christ. And so it is. Amen.